host.
Yo, welcome to the new and improved and amazing heavy metal breakfast. No more table banging.
Let's hit you with some knuckles, you know, feel me? The respect. It still feels right to do it.
Yeah, I know it's been a really long time.
I know it's been 4 years or 3 years. I know it's been 4 or 3 years.
We're trying to figure out how long it's actually been because there was a point where we would record so many episodes in a day that we kind of get lost on when the last time we recorded them was.
We just record a bunch of stuff and then cut it up. So it'd be like you guys would see an episode, but that might have been filmed 2 years prior. And we'd just like run out of ideas and be like, all right, well, we got this one episode that's What's More Metal, Ketchup versus Mustard. Nobody's ever seen that, so we'll put that. That'll be episode 105.
I tell you what, Ketchup versus Mustard was fun for a little while. Like those little 1 minute, it was almost like 1 minute or 2 minute comedy clips.
That was the concept of it. Was like Heavy Metal Breakfast was just like 1 or 2 minute things. I think that during that time, I think we started it in, let's say 2015, and I think at that time podcasting wasn't a big thing.
Well, it was. People were doing podcasting, but I feel like nowadays it's really caught
Now it's
on.
like so standard with the long form, like 10-minute video, like you know what I'm saying. So
it's really caught on going in deeper in general, and people like really connecting with like how people feel and what they're really thinking and stuff. So and nowadays with how data transfer is, like watching videos, hour videos and stuff is no problem. You just load it up. And you're ready to go, man. I don't think we're gonna do hour-long heavy metal breakfast.
I think we should. You know what? How I feel in my heart, just already being on one podcast. Shout out to the Glowed Up Show. It's like we should just do this. We should release this straight as an hour episode, and then we'll chop it up into smaller episodes, like not even episodes, but smaller topics, subtopics. So we'll just give you this whole hour one. Like this is its own podcast. Even though it's Heavy Metal Breakfast. Like we'll talk for the hour, we'll throw this up, but then we'll cut it up into like topically whatever it is we talk about. So if we talk about the greatness of the film Forrest Gump for 8 minutes,
I mean,
it's like we'll cut that into its own video, but it will also live on. Like when we post this up, it should be Heavy Metal Breakfast episode 1 with the date. You know what I mean? Like just like boom. If you want to watch the whole hour episode, watch it like a podcast. I mean, ultimately, what are we doing right now? We're just talking, and that's what a podcast is. Joe Rogan is a couple cameras, but it's still a podcast. You know what I mean? So
it's still a podcast.
This is a podcast. Ultimately, Heavy Metal Breakfast was always a podcast. It just ended up being 2-minute episodes.
It was a comedy sketch cast. That's kind of what it was. It was like
Saturday Night Live meets podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. It was. We would kind of do a bunch of small little comedy sketches in one big batch. And sometimes we would ask people on Twitter and like Facebook, Instagram, whatever, does anyone have any like questions they want to do? I think we did a lot of those actually.
Well, I think that nobody ever loved my questions. Like who's the most heavy metal character in Seinfeld? You know what I mean? Like these are the things that I would write down, but when I would come to the table and be like, all right guys, I got these 5 topics, they'd be like, nah, wah. So then it'd be like, all right, social media, like, what do you have? Like, do you have anything better? And then sometimes you guys would have better ones, and we would answer those, But always doing your best is important. You know what I'm saying? So always done my best.
I mean, no matter how ridiculous it was, though, I think that for what it was at the time, doing small comedy sketches was definitely a lot of fun, and I think that everybody really enjoyed it. And I think now that some time has passed, the whole format of what is Heavy Metal Breakfast, philosophically speaking.
Right,
it's
different.
I mean?
It's a different thing.
It's like how do we feel about like what it is now in today's culture? You know what I mean? What would people like? How would people communicate with us through it in the same kind of way that we had before, where it was like, we had that kind of back and forth going. People would engage us with questions, and we would respond, and it would always have this back and forth thing, And I feel like that was a lot of fun, but now it's time for the new and improved, baby. I mean, even look at the diner.
Even the diner has changed. You know, everything has changed in the world since we started.
Yep.
You know, I think the reason why we even started Heavy Metal Breakfast was like just to be creative. I think we've always been a very creative band, and I think a lot of the creativity has been, you know, our music videos and just like everything even outside of the music. I don't think we ever stopped. I think just sometimes we'd have to go sideways, you know, but we would never stop moving. And Heavy Metal Breakfast was just a way to keep moving. You know what I mean?
It was one of those. Yeah, it was one of those things, man. It was something we would just throw. We would throw it in whenever we could, whenever we had a chance to film it and to do it. It was like that fun little side thing that we'd always try to give a little love to, you know, and no matter what we were doing, even if we could only film for like 30 minutes because we were on like such a hot timeline for that day, we would still come and we would still do it anyway, just to even get like a little bit done, just because, you know. And I think we were just talking about that not too long ago about working hard, and that's kind of what it played into, but also it played into having fun too, which is a big part.
It's just utmost.
Yeah, which is a big part of being an artist, and you know, and I think being successful as an artist, you know, if you're not having fun, then, you know, there's a lot of other things you can do in the world where you would have fun, you know, if you're doing this and not having fun. And I think that everybody has had that moment, even if you are doing something that you generally enjoy, that there's times where, you know, things are gonna get rough. But overall, having fun is the key. Like that's why we did it, you know, because it was fun to do it.
And we could.
We could.
I think you know,
having this set is like, I mean, this is.
I mean, for you
this
guys,
gave us the idea. This gave us the idea to do
for
this.
you guys watching us, it just looks like we're on a diner set, but it's important to understand that we're here in YouTube space in New York, and that's a blessing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So for us to even have come in here in 2014 and walk in and see a diner set.
Yo, imagine us trying to film this in an actual diner.
Oh no, we would never have been able to. And also the cameras. If you think about, like, there's a boom mic, there's a camera, and you can walk in here like completely bare and just sit down on a diner set that's already pre-lit with boom mics and like everything. It's like, how can you be so gluttonous to not use it?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, use every minute we. That's one thing that I'm for sure about the space. We use every minute that we have to do some idea about something.
And also the fans. Like, if it wasn't for you guys subscribing to our channel, then we would not even we wouldn't even be here. So it's like, thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
And also it's like, because you subscribed, we have to do our part. You know what I mean? It's like, if you didn't subscribe, then we wouldn't have that on us. But because you subscribe, you're like, all right, action. And then it's on us to be like, to say something. So this is it.
Yeah, I feel like we have a lot to give coming soon. We have a lot to give. You know, it's been a little while since we've given anything. You know, a little bit here and there, hints at the future. But this is the beginning of the new storm. You know, as it slowly gathers. But.
And I brought out my leather jacket for this event. You'll never see me with a leather jacket before. So I brought this out specifically. Every episode you see is going to be me and Alex and whoever else, only leather jackets. Heavy metal. Respect.
Hopefully, even if it's 100 degrees out,
Heavy metal, leather jackets.
I'll still bring it. I forgot what story I was reading about, but I think it was a Guns N' Roses story, and it was like, you know, 100 degrees outside, and they're rocking like leather jackets when they go to like meet up with each other the first time, you know what I mean? And they just thought they were all. I think it was Duff McKagan in the story. He was rocking a leather jacket. It was like 102 degrees outside, and it was the first time he had met one of the other guys in the band or something like that. So yeah, we're coming like that every time, man.
Every time I've ever gotten on stage with Shinobi, I've always worn my strap extra long so that my guitar hangs super long, and it's super uncomfortable to play like that. But you know what? It looks cool, and looking cool is very important.
I tell you what, I had to find a midpoint for that with bass because like there was, and I every day I would change. Before I found this out, like every day I would change the length of my strap a little bit just to see, like, you know, how it was playing with it a little bit lower or a little bit higher and whatever. And eventually I got to a point where, like, if the bottom of the bass was at my knee, like it would be high enough that my hand could still reach it without fully extending. So that was good. Yeah, because once your hand fully extends, you have no control. You have no control.
You're just out there.
You have to get down there like this. Like you have to get all the way down
You know
to
what?
the ground.
That's why I always felt so like kind of like jealous of Tom Morello. That like somehow he ended up keeping his jazz style because he plays, and like when you play guitar up here, you actually have full control.
Yeah.
You have full picking control, and you can actually see your fret thing. Versus like Slash or somebody or like us, where it's like the thing is so low, and you're just going off of like instinct.
Does Slash play with it that low?
Yeah, Slash plays it super low. If you look at videos, Slash, his shit is like, first off, his hair is all up in his face, he can't see anyways. But his shit is so low that it's just like, you're just feeling your way from your neck to like, oh, you're like, yeah, I think I'm on the 3rd fret. Yeah, that sounds right. We're good.
Yeah, playing up here is kind of like sitting down and playing.
Exactly.
That's what it kind of reminds me of, because you have a ton of access. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about like, anything. Like when I'm jumping around on stage, and not only is the bass all the way down there, but it's swinging around and stuff too. I gotta like keep it locked in. you know what I mean? It's like you gotta keep it locked in, man. Make sure it doesn't like slide around. I remember when I was playing a bass at the heavy neck. That was a problem, because every time I would let go of the neck for like a split second, it would just.
We also get that weight too. Wearing your stuff super low means that there's an extra weight that's pulling on your neck, so that like the guitar is actually much heavier than it would be if it was nuzzled up here.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have anything to lean against. It's just like straight weight.
Yeah, the weight of the strap is just pulling down. For sure. Yeah, and if you're jumping around with that, then it's gonna be like.
But you know what though? That means that you there. That means that you're there. It's for a reason. You're making those choices are for a reason. Same thing as like wearing pants with ripped jeans or wearing your leather jacket. Like these are choices. These are choices that you've made. And it's art. It's like you can have black or you can have gray. But there's quite a difference between black and gray.
I agree, man. I agree. I don't know. I think I wear the leather jacket more for physical protection than anything else, but that's another story altogether. No debris is gonna hit me, bro. No debris is gonna hit me. Yeah, man, it's fantastic new set. Welcome to the Fabulous. I like that they got the. It looks like an episode of Guy Fieri's Diners, Driving and Dives. Man.
Straight up, welcome to the Fabulous YouTube space. You guys can't see that, but we can see that, so you can only just tap into our brains. But the rad thing, I think the old set was greenish, aqua-ish.
Yeah.
And this is red and black, which is actually kind of maybe more metal-y.
Oh,
it goes with the blackness. It's almost like we're like Halloween or some shit.
Definitely, man. Red and black is like that's like Slayer.
We're like Slayer now.
It's like.
How do you feel about Slayer retiring, like the old guard, like aging out? I mean, Megadeth's still rocking, but.
It's kind of weird, man. I mean, like I think that you get to a certain point, no matter what age it is, and you kind of, in life, and you can't do everything forever, I guess. I mean, I guess the Rolling Stones can, right?
But they've been doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Eventually, after a while, like, you made your statement. People love you, and they bonded with you. You've made your art, and people are always going to be able to bond with it. They can watch your shows on the internet, But once you get, if it's a physical reason, that's understandable, man. The guys have been headbanging for how long? You know what I'm saying? Like,
even just being on the road, like eating on the road, traveling on the road, like that definitely takes a toll.
Even when you're living good, it takes a toll on you.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Even if you're living in. That's the one thing, I think that's one thing that some people might not necessarily understand. Like, even when you're touring in optimal conditions.
Right, you're still not home though.
No, you're not home, you're not going to get optimal sleep, you're not eating the best food. You could be eating great food, I don't know.
I feel like if you're at Slayer level, you definitely have your own personal chef.
Sure. Sure. I mean, you might be eating good food, you might not be, but
you're not in your bed.
You're not home.
You're not sleeping.
You're not with your family.
You're not with your family.
You're not necessarily sleeping in a timely fashion. Even if you do have a bed in your tour bus, you know what I'm saying. Even if there's so many different things, so many different challenges that the road can present, and at a young age, it can be hard to deal with that stuff.
It's exciting. It's exciting at a young age when you first
Yeah,
taste the road.
but even at a young age, it can be hard to deal with that stuff.
It's probably super hard when you're young because you don't even know what's going on.
That's
jumping
kind of
straight into it.
That's part of it too. But I mean, generally speaking, that's actually really true. On tour, I feel like I got sick or messed up most of the time early on, like when I first started it, because
you don't know what you don't know the maze of it.
Yeah, like you don't understand the things like how the temperature can drop 40 degrees because you just changed locations.
Right, and now you're jumping
days.
out for a gas stop, and you're wearing the same thing you wore in the last state, and all of a sudden now you're sick.
Yeah, and that's how stuff can happen. It's the little things you don't think about when you're home, and you kind of are just living like on a consistent level where like each day is not necessarily the same as the last one, as much as the locations that you're going to and what you're doing, none of it is really a surprise to you. You know what I mean? Like you're able to navigate through everything and know what to expect at every turn. Whereas on the road, you really have no idea a lot of the time what can happen.
Oh, especially if you go to sleep. Especially if you go to
sleep.
Yeah,
you sleep for 8 hours.
It's like when you wake up, everything has changed. You haven't changed.
I mean, to go back to the question. I mean, I think that I don't blame these guys at all, man. I'm surprised. In fact, I'm surprised a lot of them have been going for as long as that they have. To be honest with you, like, I mean, more power to the guys that want to be like the Rolling Stones, because that takes a certain kind of stamina. It takes a certain level of absolute love. Like that's a love thing. I feel like the Rolling Stones almost just, they have so much love to give, and the people have so much love to give them, that they just never stopped, because that bond was just so strong.
They're also not touring 200 dates a year. They're probably just doing very select 25 dates or select 30 dates. So
doing what they can.
We're not really touring.
Well, they're still rocking though.
Dave Mustaine though, Megadeth, Dave and Dave, like those guys are still touring. You can see their touring itinerary, and you're like, damn.
The hardcore guys.
They're still good. They're still good. And Dave had like some serious issues, and he just went right back. So I think there's a certain love. There's a certain love for heavy metal, man. And, I'm just happy to have been a fan of it. You know what I mean? Just have a love for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, did Motley Crue? Motley Crue, they had they said they were done, and then they came back again. Right?
I think they're done now.
They're done now, right? They're actually like done.
Unless like there's a new bill that needs to be paid, and then maybe it's time to come back again. I don't know.
Well,
it's like Kiss or something, like farewell tour.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I think that also that has a lot to do with the fact that maybe at that moment in those bands, we kid around and stuff, but like maybe at that moment in the band's career they were done, and then something did come up, like say Demand, they had a whole bunch of people who wanted to string together a tour or something, and give them an offer you can't refuse. I mean, how are you going to say no?
There'll always be people that want to make money off of you when you're at that level, and they're just going to offer you that forever.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons I feel like you see a lot of bands that are like, yeah, this is our done tour, and then all of a sudden interest returns, and then they're being hollered at by people, and then they're like, we already said we were gone, but now we have this offer here, So I think it could go either way, It could go either way with that. And more power to the guys that say yes and go on tour again at whatever ungodly age. I mean,
it's a blessing, man. There's nothing like playing in front of people like on a certain level. Having your amps and your stage, and like, I mean, there's something about playing in bars that you can kind of just like, you don't really need that. That's not really so exciting. But I think when you're playing at a certain level, it's exciting to be like, yeah, man, like, I'm gonna go out there and do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, especially when you're playing theaters that, theaters holding like 1,000, 2,000 people or whatever every night. Or arenas, yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, either way, like it's exhilarating, and I can as artists, like, feeling is really important, and sometimes feelings can change, and sometimes they don't, but I think that's one of the reasons why we see a lot of that a lot of that kind of, you know, back and forth with that, where bands come back, they go away, they come back, they go away. I mean, it's not a calculated game. Sometimes, you know, it's really just how
It's
people
on the
feel.
Where
Yeah, it's how people
stay
feel,
home
man.
for a couple years and you're like, you know what, I'm missing something, man. I keep
Yep.
changing my shoes and
Yep.
it's not giving me the feeling.
Yep, that's right, man. That's right. I was just saying this the other day to a couple of friends of mine. I'm like, man, it's time for some adventure, yo. It's time for some adventure. You know what I mean? I don't like being in one place for too long, like. And sometimes it can simply just be that. It's like, one of the guys in X metal band says, hey, like, you know, I want some adventure in my life. It's adventure. Like, it's not even about the money. It's not about, you know, any interest. It's not about anything. It's just the guy just feels like going adventuring again. When can we book a tour? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to go out.
Book it, man. I just gotta get out of here, man. I just gotta.
Like,
my old lady's just killing me, man. I
the
gotta
wife's
get out.
telling me the kids are driving me nuts.
Just book it February through
Can we
September.
book a tour, please, to get me the hell out of my house? Thank you. Oh my God, I can't take this anymore. You know, I mean, you never know.
Sure,
You never
definitely
know.
happens. Definitely happens.
You never know, man. But yeah, more power to them, and you know, I hope none of them are really like killing themselves to do it. You know what I'm saying? Everyone stay safe. You know what I'm saying? Stay healthy. You know, if you can't do it, don't do it. If you can, I'd love to see you out there, man.
Sure, I think there's a strong brotherhood, sisterhood in metal. It's a very close-knit thing, you know.
Oh yeah,
Warriors
King's
respect
X,
the other warriors.
King's X, Jerry had a heart attack. As soon as they played in New York, the next time I went and I saw them. That was the first time I seen him, because you never know in this
facts.
world. You never know in this world, man. And I was like, I gotta go see him, and they were amazing. They killed it.
One of the best ever. I saw them at L'Amour's in like '99 or 2000.
That's a younger version right there. That's
Yep.
20.
That was like the Manic Moonlight. I think it was a Manic Moonlight tour.
Yep.
It was great, man. Rest in peace, L'Amour's. Yeah, good stuff.
Oh, L'Amour's. Oh my God. See, that's something we could have a whole video about. Is a place like L'Amour's, like, forget about it, man. Oh my God.
There's a dope documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called Who the Fuck is Michael Alago? And he's the guy that signed Metallica. And he signed them, I think, off of L'Amour's. He went to go see them at L'Amour's, and I think he signed them off of that.
No, I remember this. Actually, I think it was a stadium show with Anthrax that he signed them off of, because I forgot what the documentary was exactly, but I remember there was a lot of stuff about Megaforce Records in there, and how Megaforce set them up.
They already signed a Megaforce for
Yeah,
the first one.
Megaforce was trying to set them up to get signed with a major. That was the whole purpose of forming Megaforce Records, which became its own animal after that, right? But Megaforce became like a label that metal bands would take a step on to get to the major label. It was a show in New York. I don't remember where.
Maybe it was at the Ritz.
It was at a place that fit. It might have been Irving Plaza.
I think it was the Ritz, which is Webster Hall now.
Right. It was a big venue that fit like, I think 1,000 or 2,000 people or something.
I think it was the Ritz.
And Anthrax was might have been the headliner, because it was a New York show. I'm pretty sure Anthrax was the headliner, and Anthrax got signed like a month later, from what I know about that. The documentary was the VH1.
Behind the music?
Remember that series, big series that they had?
When metal ruled the world? Oh no, Metal Evolution?
The Metal Evolution series. Yeah, that was where I think the episode about thrash metal was where I remember that from. And yeah, they were interviewing all the guys like Anthrax, you know, Lars and all that stuff yeah, it was a big show somewhere it was a big show at some theater in New York. And both them and Anthrax got signed instantly. Anthrax a month later. It was like done. That's it. And it was all independently put together. They pulled like that many people, like over 1,000 people. You know.
It was that time. It was a big movement for metal at that time.
Yeah, and well, I mean to be fair, you know, if you get, I mean, in this world, if you manage to pull that many people to a show as an independent, and you actually get someone from a label to come see it, I don't know, I would sign them, you know what I mean? Like, they could pull that many people to a show independently, you know, so that's And especially back in that day where it was like.
Right. And now if you did that, you already have signed yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a totally different. Yeah, it's a totally different metagame. We'll even say that it's a totally different metagame at this point. It's like now it's like you can just sign yourself, like work on your own, do everything independently. You know what I mean? And it's so apparent and so obvious too. Like I mean, corporate help is corporate help, but I mean, you just work with what you can and do your best, man.
I feel like back in the days, or at that time, you had like strong champions, and those champions were almost like the cushion between your foot and the ground. And if you didn't have that proper champion, then your band was gonna falter, because people at the labels were constantly shifting and changing, and you needed somebody like Michael or whoever the champion was for Nirvana. Like if you think about Nirvana, like they put out Bleach, right, on Sub Pop. And then the next move they made was Geffen. 3 years later, they were the biggest band in the world. But like somebody protected them and was like, no, this guy's the songwriter. Don't fuck with him. Let them write their songs.
Right.
And just record it.
They had somebody representing them. Representation. Yeah. Representation it was, and kind of still is, everything at this point.
Still is. I mean, if you have people that believe in you, they can really help negotiate those things. But if you don't have people that believe in you, as soon as the labels or corporate entities start going, I'm not sure if I like Pink, I really feel that Fuchsia's better. They're like, Fuchsia's better, guys. I'm not feeling Pink. Nobody's feeling your Pink.
Right,
you need Fuchsia. And you're like, damn, but you loved Pink yesterday. Yeah, but not today though. Now it's Rhodamine Red. Okay, guys? So if you want to play this game,
Rhodamine Red.
You need to change your shit to Rhodamine Red. But if you have the right, so basically, make sure that the people that are representing you believe in you. That's going to be large for your success.
Oh, well, that's everything, man. That's everything.
If the people that represent you are wishy-washy, it's going to be very hard for you to be successful, because they're going to just change you until you're not even you anymore, and then you won't be successful because nobody likes unauthentic things.
No, it's yeah. I mean, as long as well, I think that believing in yourself comes first, and then other people will believe in you, and then that's what really creates a strong foundation.
Sure.
Yeah, like that's really what creates the strongest foundation, because you could have someone believing in you, but you don't believe in yourself.
Then
that's a problem.
They probably won't believe in you after a while.
That one way or the other, someone's gonna
get wishy-washy.
Someone's gonna see that.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, whether it's the people,
in your armor,
whether it's the people, or whether it's people that are going to be representing you, or whoever it is. Like, believing in yourself is ultimately where it starts, though. Like that's everything, man.
And that's not an easy thing to do, though, either. It's not. It seems like it would be simple. You just wake up. How hard is it to be you? But a lot of people don't have that footing. They don't really know who they are. And when you have that self-esteem that's kind of not secure, you really care about what people think. And in the music business or any type of entertainment business, people are constantly telling you what they think.
Yep.
And you're just going, yeah. And then by the end of the day, you're just like, who am I? What do I even care about?
Yeah, you can't take it personally. You really can't. I remember the one thing that stuck in my mind when I joined this band. I don't know how many people know this or not, but I'll say it straight up. I wasn't really a bass player before I joined Shinobi. Like, I was decent. I was okay at bass, but I'm a piano player and a singer first, if anything. And, I had played bass a bunch of times before, and practiced it here and there over the years. But I think that I was searching for compliments for so long because I was such a bad bass player. And I was confident in my ability to perform. Like, my ability to be on stage and be a performer and put on a great show. So that wasn't a problem. But I had a confidence issue with
your proficiency on the instrument.
My proficiency on the instrument. And, for years, like, whenever I got a glimmer of a compliment. I remember one time we were at South by, right? And this guy comes up to me. This is like South by, I want to say 2012 or something like that, maybe, right? This guy comes up to me and he goes, yo, that was a sick solo on bass, man. You play like a guitar player. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks, man. And then I go up to you and I tell you, and I'm like, yo, this guy just told me I play bass like a guitar player. You look at me, you're like, nah, man. You're like, nah, man.
You don't want to hear that.
I'm like, what do you mean? And you're like, nah, man, dude. that's an insult, bro. That's an insult, bro.
Like if you go to a jam session and they go, man, you play bass just like a guitar player. Pretty much it's like a backhanded compliment. It's like if you're playing drums and like, dude, you play drums just like a bass player. It's like, dude, why don't you just tell me I'm good at drums?
Yeah,
That'd feel so much better.
So I remember that moment, and then after that moment, I was like, oh no, I'm not good at bass. Like, you know what I mean?
But you have people like Meg White though, who are not maybe like the most. They're not John Bonham, but they're killing it in that thing.
Yeah. I mean, you could, you don't have to be necessarily proficient at your instrument, I don't think, to really be a great performer. That's something I learned much later.
It's like Sid Vicious, you know?
Yeah, you don't have
to look cool.
Yeah, I mean, looking cool is part of it. Having a really strong bond with the music and the crowd and the people that are watching you is a really big part of it. And yeah, playing the right notes is a big part. It's always a big part of it too, right? But I think playing the right notes well gets overestimated especially in live performance, because like you're in the studio, right? And yeah, in the studio, precision is everything. Because people are going to hear that recording over and over and over again, and they're going to hear every nuance of it live. I mean, being a proficient musician in a band setting, yeah.
Maybe if you're in Dream Theater or something.
Yeah, if you're in a really intense band like a jazz band or in like a prog metal band or something like that, then being proficient is pretty damn important. Of course, absolutely. But generally speaking, in pop performance, I think I underestimated just how much of I think at the time, especially when I was pretty bad at bass, I really underestimated how emphatic my performances were, though. Because people would tell me I look great, my head banging, jumping around, this and that, falling on the floor, rolling around, you know what I mean? And the whole
Mike, both of you guys.
Yeah.
Both of you guys.
Yeah. And I tried to do everything I could to make up for the fact that I was a bad bass player. But then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and, I started practicing every day and for like 3, 5, 6, 7 hours, you know what I mean? And after a while, I woke up and all of a sudden I wasn't too bad at bass. And I realized that, all of the self-consciousness that I had in regards to my playing was completely unfounded.
It was just like your own personal.
It was my own. I was being my own worst enemy. Yeah, I was being my own worst enemy. After every show, like, I remember I'll come up to you, I'll be like, oh, I messed this many notes up or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's like nobody even heard any of that shit.
Pass me that joint. I don't give a shit about
And exactly. So I knew that I was doing all right. I think maybe 3 years later, when I fucked up a lot. I fucked up a lot this one show that we played. I looked great, but I fucked up so much. I played so terrible. And my pops came up to me. Right? Now my pops, he never told me I played good because he's always been very honest with me. He's a great bass player, and he's always been very honest with me. He came up to me after that show. He's like, "Man, you sounded great." And this is just after our buddy John from out in California told me I sounded great. My tone was great on stage. And those two things linked together. We're two different bass players. One being my pops, who's going to be the most critical of anybody, as opposed to what we might think. He's the most critical. Told me that I played good in a short period of time, and I had been practicing, I put my time in, and that kind of reinforcement is important. You know what I mean? That kind of reinforcement is important, because I might have been playing that good for 3 months before that, but until
somebody told you,
somebody told me,
you had heard the words.
I heard the words from somebody else.
Then you could change the pattern in your
and that's 3 years.
Right.
That's 3 years. You know what I mean? Of after every show just being unhappy. Being upset, and stuff like that. And that's, that kind of thing is very, it's healthy on some levels because you always want to get better and you always want to work harder to get better. But it's also unhealthy if you don't have that moment where you realize that everything is coming together. You know what I mean? And that's the important distinction, I think, when it comes to self-confidence. It's like whether you're in the beginning of it and you're trying to find anything at all, or you've already gotten to a point where you should have been way past it. Like, it's still the same battle. It's you, and you have to believe in yourself. And
But you also got to graduate. It's basically what it is. It's like when you start, it's cool to do that, but eventually you do have to graduate. And if you feel like you've been doing it long enough and you still have those things and you haven't graduated, now it's like a hindrance, because now you've created basically it's like you created your own impotence, and you really can't get down now. And it's not because you can't get it's not because you physically can't get down. It's because you created a pattern in your head, and you just kind of lost yourself, which is unfortunate. It's like almost like the Ips, like guys that get the Ips in baseball. Remember, what was the guy's name? I'm gonna say Steve Sachs.
what Ips?
You know what the Ips is?
No, what is that?
Ips is like in sports where it's like Mackie Sasser had this. They did a ESPN short on it. He was the starter for the Mets in like the 1990s.
I know Max Sasser. Yeah.
And like all of a sudden one day he just couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher anymore. And he's a professional baseball player. And all of a sudden he couldn't throw it back because he would walk the ball back to the pitcher. And the coaches would be looking at him like, what the hell are you doing? And then eventually it was like, dude, I can't put you out there. Like, I know you can hit and I know you're a great baseball player, but if you can't throw the ball to the pitcher, you can't be on the team anymore. Like, and that's what happened to Mackie. Like, he got the Ips, and a lot of sports
Chuck
players.
Knobloch too, right?
Chuck Knobloch.
He couldn't throw the ball to first base.
He couldn't
from
throw the
second
ball.
base. That was.
And he was an all-star, man.
He was a
But
great
you know
player.
what? The thing was, it was
Great
like
player.
he went from Minnesota to the Yankees, and then when he came to the Yankees, he came to the spotlight, and then just like
stuff.
psychological things. So basically, if like if you're in a band and you start feeling those things for yourself, like have a little compassion for yourself, man, and get over it. You gotta get over that, because if you don't, you might be out of the starting position. You know what I mean? Like, there might be a new second baseman.
Oh God. Well, I'm lucky I had some good teammates back then. They were helping me out through that.
Oh, for sure. Well, thankfully,
dragging me over.
we didn't have
to the
any
table.
drug addictions in the band or anything to like disarm us in that way.
No, we've always been really solid, man. We've always avoided all the typical pitfalls that can plague any band. It's I almost had one with the. I kind of had a little bit of a thing with drinking, but it wasn't. I don't think it was like an alcoholism thing as much as it was a health thing. Like you just can't drink. You can't even drink a couple of drinks every day sometimes. Like for some people.
Well, when you're on the road and you're drinking hard every day, like
no, even like 2 or 3 every day. It's just your body's getting hit with this every day.
I remember looking back at pictures on tour, like after we got off tour. And I would look at the pictures, I'd be like, damn, I look horrible. Like, what the hell is going on? And I realized, I'm like, dude, you've been drinking every day for like 4 months. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? You've been eating bad, drinking a lot, and not sleeping a lot every day for 4 months. Feels great when you're in the green room before the show. Feels great in the green room after the show.
It feels great when you're still on tour, but then when you
get off tour and you're just like, dude, you just gained 20 pounds, man. You look horrible.
I would gain a lot of weight too. I think I would gain about 15 or 20 every time we go on tour after a couple of weeks. It's all that 3 a.m. like.
Oh, the 3 a.m. calling Domino's?
No, but whatever you would do. Like you call Domino's, go to Walmart.
Whatever's going on at 3 a.m.
It's not good.
Nothing good is happening.
Nothing good is happening food-wise at 3 a.m. But you need to eat because you're hungry.
You're hungry.
And so hopefully you bought a ton of stuff at like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods earlier in the day, and you have like, in the fridge in your hotel room, you could like warm it up like real food. You know what I'm saying? Or like you bought like some like good perishables or.
That's like $1,000 headliner problems though. You know what I mean? These are like $1,000 headliner problems.
I guess, are they?
Yeah, because once you leave that and you go to another level, then you get to cook. You know what I mean? Like you get the personal chef.
Damn, the cook.
Yeah, man, personal chef for sure. I know none of the homies that we have that are on those high levels are. They didn't have none of the problems that we've had on the road. And you know what? It's just like graduating, like we just talked about. Like if you're still in high school and you've been doing it long enough, it's like you gotta graduate or like figure out what you're doing with your life, because you can't just keep going on that level. It's a tough level to be on. You kind of want to you start and you kind of want to get there, but then once you get there, you want to graduate. If you don't graduate, you gotta look around and go like, what's going on with my life? Like, why am I still playing the same bar? Why am I still at Walmart at 3 a.m.? And if you're not going somewhere, you gotta kind of step back. And I think we kind of went through that. And it was just like, play the same strip mall again. Like we can't play another Sunset Grill or like Island Grill or something like it. We just can't.
Well, I think there's a time and a place for that, and sometimes that time and a place is when you're playing like big theaters or something. Like maybe you want something more intimate. I mean, look at Pearl Jam.
If you're playing theaters and you want something more intimate, play a small club. But
look at Pearl Jam. Look at Pearl Jam, right? Eddie Vedder talked about. He talked about one of his biggest issues with, and it's a strange issue to have because it's most you wouldn't. It's not something about fame here. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I have to preface it because it's very strange, but I can understand where he's coming from with it. When he talks about the fact that like he couldn't write verses in the studio they were in because it was too nice, so he slept in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Because that's where he comes from. He didn't want to skip those steps. Yeah, he didn't want to skip the steps. Like he's playing arenas, festivals, and whatever. He's playing for bajillions of people. But he just wants to go back to playing. He wants to start at coffee shops. He wants to play in a bar.
And work his way up
the way you're naturally supposed to do it. He just they flew him in. The label was ready, and boom, he was playing huge stages.
It was the biggest band.
Yeah. I think they played a few local shows in Seattle or something that were pretty big, in front of like a few hundred people or whatever. And boom, they were on tour, and that was it. You know what I mean? And he never really got to experience the different tiers that you have to go through to get to that spot where you're playing festivals and arenas and theaters and stuff like that, And he always talked about that. He was like, I just want to play bars. You know what I mean? I want to play bars. So I mean, I can understand where a guy like him or a band that's been touring on really big stages for a long time, like, would want to play bars. I mean, look at Lady Gaga. Didn't she do something like that, where she played a bunch of local bars in New York or something?
We all started at the same time playing,
No, but I'm saying recently. Didn't she recently?
Well, you can do it because it's fun, but don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Twisted out.
Of course.
I think there's something to be said though, where it's like you're not gonna go back and play those bars again. Like, if you're at the top and you want to go play bars because it's fun, it gives you that feeling of being authentic.
More intimate.
Intimate, I understand it.
Intimate.
But if you're going to play bars again because you can't get further than that, then you got to come up with a different strategy.
Yep, absolutely.
Like I just refuse, man. It's just like I just couldn't do it anymore. I think it was like 2015. It was just like we were on tour and I was just like, man, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. Like I remember we played at a bar in North Carolina, and the dude that booked us was like, do you guys know any cover songs? And I was like, we are in the wrong dimension. Like somehow we've jumped realities, and I'm not feeling this reality at all. Like this reality where it's like, do you know any cover songs? Can you play Freebird? I'm just like, nah, B. This is not what it's about. It's when you open for 311 or something like that, it's like, yeah, we're in the right reality. Like we're playing in front of 2,500 people, like that feels right.
Nobody's gonna ask you to play cover songs.
Yeah, like that feels right. But when somebody's like, yo, do you know any fucking Skinner or something? It's like, nah, bro, we're not in the right place. Like they signed us up for the wrong school.
Yeah,
we're not supposed to be here anymore. But that's just you live and learn. You also got to pay those dues. That's why.
Well, that's the
you don't want to pay them twice though. You don't want to pay them.
You don't want to pay them twice. No, that's true, and that's the other thing, right? Like, I mean, you can talk about. Personally speaking, I enjoyed all that for a great deal. For a very long time. Like but I also got into the game, into the performance game way later than you did though. Like I wasn't playing bars in New York for like mad years.
You got in around like 2011. We had already been 3 years in.
I didn't start performing live. I don't think till like 2009, 2010. Really, like on a personal level. And then. Yeah, 2011 is when I officially got. But I played a show with Shinobi, a couple of shows with Shinobi in 2009. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, but playing a couple of shows is not the same. It's
no. Of course not. Absolutely. But I think that one of the main reasons why I kind of never got, I guess, like really fed up with it until like, we had been doing it for some time, was because I think that I didn't pay my dues. And this is something I think about sometimes.
You were paying back dues.
I was paying back dues because I was more of a studio rat for most of my life, and I would just basically like practice a lot, and like performing was like a big deal for me. And then it ended up kind of, reversing on me after a while. But yeah, I had back dues and back dues to pay. So for me, I didn't get really sick of it until much later, I think, than you guys did. That everybody else in the band pretty much. I was still having fun in 2015 playing bars. I was like, yeah, let's go, let's rock, man. 100 people, let's go. 100 people, let's go. What was the spot in Myrtle Beach?
No, those places were less harsh, but it was when you're playing a bar and you like there isn't 100 people there. There's only like 20 people.
Ooh.
And like even
I don't think we had too much. We didn't have.
There was this one time we played at that same spot where the guy was like, "Do you know any cover songs?" That one of our fans showed up, and when the fans showed up, he was expecting us to be like in a place where there was a line around the block, because perception is reality. He only knows it from the internet.
Right.
But he was like, "Why are you guys playing here?" And I remember just like hearing that and it echoed. It was like, "Why are you guys playing here? Why are you guys playing here?" I'm like, I don't have the answer to that question.
No, I've had people ask me that before too. When we played this one bar in Queens, my homie came up to me and asked me that question. She was just like, she just kind of sat down to me next to me. She was just like, "Why are you guys playing here?" And I was just kind of like,
Just didn't really have an answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, I did, but at the time, it seemed like the right answer. But now, when I look back at it, it's not really the correct thing to do, I guess. But we were trying a lot of stuff though then. Like years ago, like 5 years ago, we were trying a lot of stuff, especially when it came to New York. Because I remember after we had toured quite a bit. Like coming back to New York was interesting. We had to kind of find our footing again here. You know what I mean? Like a little bit. Like it wasn't really like a big deal, I guess. But I mean, when you're in a locale for a period of time and you have certain places that you play or whatever, and certain things you're used to doing, or like a residence at like a certain club or something like that, when you have to find that again and you're searching for it because you are home for a little bit, it can be kind of a little perplexing.
Ego hits.
Yeah, you can you have to try stuff sometimes. Sometimes maybe the gig that you had before that you were doing once a month doesn't work out anymore.
I also think it's trajectory and strategy. Like if you don't have a strategy and you're just going, you might just go backwards or sideways.
Oh yeah.
And you're still moving, but you ain't going forward.
Well, you could, but
you might be. You might go forward.
There's
it's
a
also
whole
you might
360.
not.
Yeah,
it's like when you know those like little wind up monkeys, and you like wind the monkey up, and it's like yeah, but all of a sudden it hits like a little pebble, and it's like boop, now it's going that way, and nothing's stopping it from going that way, and it's just like, what happened to the monkey?
Yeah.
Oh, the monkey's way down there now. It's like, damn, monkey, you're supposed to be over there.
Yeah. That's what things were like early on with us. Sometimes when we have 6 people all managing one band. And all of the team together, and nobody's really necessarily like the commander-in-chief, so to speak. Like sometimes we would just go, and we would, the direction we were going wasn't necessarily that important as much as the fact that we were moving. And I think that it worked for us most of the time. Actually, it really worked well for us most of the time because we would end up figuring things out along the way. But I think the most important thing is that we learned from when it didn't work.
That's when it hurts.
Yeah.
When it doesn't work, you're just like, damn, that one really hurt. You're like, I don't want to do that again, man. It's like you're going to get when you're little and you go get a shot. You get your first one and you're like, damn, that hurts. I don't want to do that again. And then your parents are like, but you have to go back and do it again. And you're like, no, I don't want to do it again. But you got to though. It's like, nah, I don't want to do it. We've had an interesting career up until this point. We've had a lot of pluses and we've had some minuses. But we've always been independent, and I think with that independence, you have your pluses and minuses. It just is what it is. I think we've had a lot of wins, and that's where you look at your blessings and you really appreciate them. You know what I mean? But you got to learn from the losses also. If you don't learn from the losses, you're bound to repeat them. And you don't want to repeat those things. Because eventually you end up with no legs. You know what I mean? Just on stage, like this little guy with no legs, like they're watching you like you're a freak show. You know what I mean? You don't want to be a freak show. You want to bring something to the table. You know what I mean? But that's being an independent band, and it also goes back to what we were saying before about having like people represent you and champion you. If you don't have those right people, we've had different people, but if you don't have those right people, you kind of can get pushed to different sides. You know what I mean?
There's something interesting that I definitely noticed, and this is something I think I It's something I've thought about, but I don't think I've ever addressed it with anybody. When I'm looking at someone's social media page, I can tell right away if they have a champion or not. I can tell instantaneously if they have a champion.
Based on their shows or like?
Based on, no matter what kind of thing anybody's doing on social media, I can tell when they have somebody behind them, supporting them, or when they don't. And when the line is, when it's blurry for me, that means they do.
Okay.
So it's like whenever you can't tell, it means that they do have something supporting them because they are trying to hide it, the fact that they have support.
Gotcha.
But I've noticed that there's little signs, and it's hard to kind of describe or talk about, I guess. But there's things that you notice when I look at people's pages that tell me that, and instantly I know if that person is going to be successful in the near future or not, or if they're already successful, go further because of based on what I see, based on the trajectory of all their stuff, and and I've never actually talked about that or like really acknowledged it up until this moment, but
trajectory is large.
But yeah, if you look at anyone's social media page, anyone's in this world, you can tell right away if they're active. You look at my social media page, you ain't gonna find nothing. I haven't posted nothing in 3 years. But if you look at anyone's active social media page, you can tell right away. You can see trajectories, you can see different things, and being able to see that about yourself, I think, is the hardest.
Because you're so close, you can't really see it.
Being able to see what other people see,
right?
I think is one of the hardest things about managing yourself, and that's why it's important to have champions, because champions are who create that environment.
Right. They don't see it; they see it like the way other people see it.
Exactly.
And they just kind of tell you the truth.
And that's how you can kind of tell between the different businesses, profiles, whatever you want to talk about, people on social media. That's how you can tell when they have that outside influence, making everything look shiny, making everything look official, making everything, you know what I mean? Even if it's not like, a mainstream label or corporation or something like that, even if it's just a person, an investor, or whoever this person may be, even if it's a freaking boyfriend or girlfriend who's just super gung-ho about you.
People that believe in you.
Someone that believes in you and sees, it's probably not a boyfriend or girlfriend actually, because it's usually someone who's disconnected from you.
Yeah.
Somebody who's going to tell you the truth.
Right.
Somebody who's going to, you know what I mean? It's going to be that kind of a person, but it's really important.
You know what I feel is a good example of that was Anvil. Remember when Anvil came out, 2008, and they made that, whoever made that Anvil documentary, whoever made that Anvil documentary changed those guys' lives. Because if that person didn't, frame them up the way that they saw them, and if it was left to Anvil to keep framing themselves up, they would have just kept having their regular jobs. Because that's how the movie starts, right? It starts with Lars Ulrich and Slash. One of the best documentaries ever. It starts with Lars Ulrich and Slash going like, Anvil, those guys were the best. What happened? They should have been large, right? And then you see homie delivering food to the school, and you're like, okay, this is what happened. And then it cuts to them playing in front of 100,000 people, right? And you're going, well, how did they go from here to there? But once you're there, it takes the same thing that got you there, the same thing to get you back up. It's that frame. And then I remember as soon as that documentary came out, they immediately were opening for Judas Priest.
That's right.
And they were just right back up because they got reframed. And that reframing is just large in life.
Yeah, and somebody else had to do that for them.
Somebody else had to do that.
There's no way that they did that themselves.
They couldn't have.
No.
You could never have seen that perspective.
And it's important. It's important. It's been, I think that in regards to us, I feel like we've always had a champion inside the band. Whether it was, no matter who it was, we've seen it from just about everybody here at one point or another, where that person championed a cause and everybody rallies behind them. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had a lot of degrees of success, because we have so many different heads, and because we've always seemed to have a rotating champion in the band that everybody would get behind. And I think that whenever we had moments where nobody knew who to get behind, that's when we had problems.
Well, you don't know where you're going.
Exactly. That was where we had issues. But even we somehow made a proxy in our own environment without even realizing it for years we did this all the time. No matter who it was in the group, somebody would just be on fire, and we would all get behind them right away. It's going to burn everything in their path, and it's just going to be a clear path straight to victory. You know what I mean? And it's really important to have that. It's everything right now. If you're, to anybody who's watching that's completely independent, if you're doing it completely yourself, clicking every button, pushing every key, and if you're doing every single thing, then
Remember that Simpsons episode?
It's going to be a lot, man. You want to get somebody from the outside, man. That's for sure.
Remember that Simpsons episode where like Homer's in charge of the plant, and all of a sudden he like leaves and he just keeps that little like bird that just continues to just like hit the button for him, but all of a sudden like somehow the bird falls over and like nobody hits the button and the plant is about to explode. Like that button has got to be somebody. And if at any point, like you said, if at any point there's nobody pressing the button, you ain't going nowhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the best thing that you can have is to have everybody pressing all their buttons at the same time and bringing that out. See, when you have everybody pressing the buttons, you create this polarity that the outside energies come in. You know what I mean? Where they're just like, nah, I gotta be part of that. Like, there's something happening there. I just gotta be part of it.
People get drawn to it.
I did that in the end of 2016 and 2017, and I just remember being like, damn, like did I just get us a meeting with Slipknot's manager? Like, am I really at this table? But I did that. You know what I mean? Like, we all did it because I sent stuff to, but it's like I did that. And because of that, then I was able to create those things. You know what I mean? So it's like at any moment you can do that. It's just a matter of like, what are you gonna do and when will you activate? As soon as you activate, trust that the universe is gonna start sending you stuff back. The thing is, you have to give to receive, right? As soon as you start giving, the more you give, the more you're gonna receive. You know, I think, and that's another thing about Anvil, those guys never gave up. They kept I remember like in the documentary, and he's like, yeah, everybody remembers Metal on Metal, but do you remember this album, and this album, and this album? It's like, dude, whoa, like, damn, you guys like, and the names of the albums were like super crazy, like Eye Against Eye, Fire and this, and it was like, and it's like, damn, well, because you kept it going, you gave yourself opportunities for somebody to be like, no, I want to champion you. You know, if you give up, anybody gonna champion you because it's like you retired. And you know, another thing is like I was watching this thing. The best ability is availability. The best ability is availability. They were talking about John Stockton, the great point guard for the Utah Jazz. He never missed a game. In 19 years, they made the playoffs. They never won a championship. But in 19 years, every single year, they made the playoffs. And they said John Stockton's best ability was availability. And it's like, you can't beat that, man. To be available, to show up and always be there, that's the biggest. You know what I mean? That's the biggest.
That's funny. John Stockton, dude, he was great, man.
John Stockton was the one.
Love watching him play. That whole team just had a great dynamic. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's too bad they were around when the Bulls were around, but
well, that's too bad for everybody.
It's too bad for exactly. It's too bad for the Knicks too. It's too bad for a lot of people with the Bulls.
Houston Rockets are the only ones that really came out. Jordan retired, and they came out and they won.
Yeah.
And then they went back, and then Jordan came out.
Yeah, of course, Jordan's around. Like nobody's going to but him. So I mean, but yeah, I feel like that's a team in general that gets maybe overlooked a little bit just because they were just another one of those teams that got trounced by Jordan. But
right.
they would have been one of the greatest teams of all time.
Oh yeah, for sure. They were large.
They would have been one of the greatest teams. They
were almost like the Patriots, where like they never missed the playoffs. They were just so consistently winners. Yeah. You know, they just didn't get that championship.
But who could?
Yeah, it's true.
Who could, man? Who could?
It was like the Celtics, the Pistons, the Lakers, and the Bulls.
All great teams.
That was pretty much it.
All great teams, but only one. Only one of them was good enough. That's pretty much it, man. But, oh yeah. Well, what do you say, man? Think it's that time?
What are you saying, guys? You think it's time?
It's that time to eat some breakfast?
It's breakfast time?
Is that time to eat some breakfast? I think it is.
Are we gonna have like a theme song? Like what are you gonna do with this? How are you gonna set this up?
I have no idea, honestly. I just had the idea to bring back Heavy Metal Breakfast and to talk about things that really matter and to have some jokes too while we do it. I think we did a lot of laughing. We did a lot of laughing, but I think
serious. We were authentic.
But I think that's the most important thing is the authenticity. I think that's what people enjoyed about it before, I think people are going to enjoy that about it in the future as well.
What about the leather jackets? Doesn't that really add a lot?
I mean, dude, I'm still amazed that...
Swaggy, yo.
I'm still amazed that you got... How much did you get that for?
I got it for $85 at Buffalo Exchange.
Alright.
I could throw a little bit at that, but I said, you know what? I gotta step up.
That's one of the things that's like a moment where it's worth it though, because you can find that jacket new for like $300-400 or something like that. I mean, you know, if it still looks new and it's only $80, like I think mine was a replacement for the old one, and it was about the same amount, I think. You know, if you get refurb leather jackets, you get it for like under $100. That's it.
They gotta fit you good though.
Yeah.
They gotta fit you right.
Yeah, sure, but you don't want to get baggy.
Leather jackets are like the arms and then the waist.
See, like your arms, if your arms were
a little bit
I was gonna say, if your arms were a little bit bigger, like if you were one size bigger, it would be too big for you.
This is an XL.
But it's
if it was a large, the waist wouldn't be good.
It's still good though. You want it to be a little bit smaller, but like it's still like acceptable. You just don't want it to be like, you know, like when you were a kid and you put on dad's clothes and it's all like baggy and shit. Nah, I remember feel like that.
I remember one time in Brooklyn on 85th Street, back in the like real metal days. I had the leather jacket, you know what I mean, with the long hair, and I had these tight pants. Like I swore I was in Metallica or something. I had the tight pants; they were so tight. And I'm in the Avenue, you know, I'm getting pizza on the Avenue. You know, it's Bensonhurst, so like people don't give a shit. They'll just call you out. So this guy that I went to high school, he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, bro. Haven't seen you in a while. What's up with your pants?" I was like, "What do you mean, man?" He's like, "Bro, pants do not fit you." I'm like, "Bro," but I'm like, don't I look like I'm in Megadeth? Like I'm killing it with my All-Stars and my leather jacket and my tight pants. Like, I'm killing it. He wasn't feeling it.
Well, not everybody feels everything, man. I still walk around Bensonhurst and Diker Heights and Bay Ridge and stuff. And people will yell out of cars like, "Got your fucking hair!" Or like they'll be like, "Yeah, nice hair, girly," or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, come on, man. It's like obviously you know that I enjoy living like this, and your criticism is not going to change how I feel. But obviously he doesn't know that because he's yelling outside his car. He's still got to do it anyways, just because he feels obligated. It's like, all right, bro. It's like, congratulations, man. Like, I love how I look. I love how I look, and your dumb ass could never convince me otherwise. So please, you know, that's how I feel about it. Hey, if anybody ever tells you you look bad, just remember that. Just remember that. I love how I look, and your dumb ass could never convince me otherwise. So, peace.
Peace.
And on that note, this has been the return of Heavy Metal Breakfast. Peace, love, and metal. Never stop rocking.
Hey.